Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. So this week I'm going to be talking about underrated things to do at Disney. Now this is specific to Disney World. I saw that a YouTube channel called Extra Magic Hours did a video on this, and I thought, wow, that's actually a really good idea because I do have a few things that I think are very underrated at Disney. So let's talk Disney. This by park. So the first park I'm going to talk about is Epcot. Now the first underrated thing at Epcot that I think is underrated is Spaceship Earth. Now I know a lot of people walk by it. Some people don't even know that there is a ride. Some of it just call it the big Epcot ball and they walk away from it. I still call it the Epcot ball sometimes, but it is Spaceship Earth and I think that it's a great ride. Granted, I wouldn't sit there and wait hours for it, but definitely it's something you can fast pass or do first thing in the morning or last thing at night, and it's super fun to do it, and it's definitely a must do for me on any of my trips. I do it every single time I go and I love it. The next thing is Figment. So Journey into Imagination with Figment is another one of my Disney underrated rides. I really like it. I heard that it might be getting changed actually to an Inside Out themed ride, but we'll see. I think Figment is just so cute. If you guys haven't ridden it, it's basically kind of like one of those rides that is very slow. There's no thrill to it. You just sit in it. It's good for families, you know. You go around and it kind of works all your senses. And I hadn't been on it up until this very last trip, and I actually really like it, and I think it's something that I'd probably do every time I go. Next is the Three Caballeros. I love the Three Caballeros ride. I talk about it all the time and I always am super excited to ride it. This is another one that I heard a rumor that it might be going away, which scares me because I really like the Three Caballeros. The song, I could just sing it all day long. I love it so much. I think it's a cute ride, and the Mexican Pavilion is my favorite pavilion at Epcot, so it kind of holds a special place in my heart for that reason. But I think the theming in it is just so well done. It's kind of like an It's a Small World kind of ride, except even more fun. So I definitely love that one. And then my last must-do at Epcot is actually a food item, and that is the Cronut stand. Oh my goodness, I love Cronuts, and Cronuts with swirl ice cream on top is the best. And the reason this is on my underrated list is because a lot of people talk about Dole Whips. And that's like something like Mickey ice cream sandwiches, Dole Whips, things like that are things you expect. I never hear people talking about Cronuts too much. Like popular vloggers, Disney vloggers that is, I'll see them eat them and they talk about them some, but this isn't something that's talked about a lot. And I love Cronuts, and I feel that Cronuts are something that everybody should know about and that everybody should try. So if you've not had a Cronut, I don't know what you're waiting for. You need to go try a Cronut. Next up is Hollywood Studios. Now Hollywood Studios is kind of going over a lot of revamping right now with Star Wars and Toy Story Land and all that jazz, but there are a few underrated things that I like. The first one is probably controversial. It is the Great Movie Ride. I know some people love it, some people hate it. I personally love it, and it's something I do every time I go. I don't know, it's kind of nice to sit there in the air conditioning when it's hot out, especially because I feel like Hollywood Studios does not have much shade, and that is probably the hottest park. At least for me this last trip, it was the hottest park. So I feel that getting to sit down and kind of just ride along in the air conditioning is a really good thing. So definitely that is underrated for me. The next underrated thing is actually Muppets 3D Vision, that show. I love that show, and my parents aren't huge fans of the Muppets, at least my mom's not, so we don't have to drag her on it, but it's definitely not her favorite. I love it. Once again, you're in the air conditioning. I think it's a cute little show, and to me it's just fun and something I love to do each go around. I love Kermit and I love the Muppets, so for me it is a must do. Another underrated thing is actually the ABC commissary. I had never heard of anybody talking about it, and this last trip we were looking for a place to eat and we went in and I thought the food was great. It's definitely a nice atmosphere, and overall I thought it was really great, but I don't hear anybody ever talking about it as far as like quick service food goes, but definitely if you haven't been, try it out. Next up is Animal Kingdom. Now, Animal Kingdom has a lot of thrill rides, and I love Dinosaur, I love Expedition Everest, but there are also some rides that a lot of people don't think about right away. So the first one I'm actually going to talk about is It's Tough to Be a Bug. I love that show. Once again, you're in the air conditioning. What is not to love about it? And by far, I think the best part is the end when, you know, they come over the speaker and say, please let all of the bugs out first, and they kind of bump under your seat, and you hear everybody scream. Those who've never done it scream even louder and jump and grab their kids, and it's so funny. And I don't know, it's a good ride, especially because I like to see that kind of some of the older stuff has remained, and it's something that I've done ever since I was little, and it's always a fun one for me. Next is also along the food line, and it is Pizzafari. Also another thing that I had never really done up until this last trip. We were looking for something to eat, we all were cool with pizza. It was really good. And I feel like looking at the pizza, I wasn't like thrilled with the way it looks. I don't like a lot of sauce on my pizza or anything, so I'm very picky when it comes to like the look of a piece of pizza. But it was really good. So if you've not tried their pizza, I highly recommend it. It's really good. And lastly, for Animal Kingdom, I would say Finding Nemo the musical. It's also another thing that I had not done until this last trip, and it is really fun. It's, once again, a good way to get in the air conditioning, and the people in that show are so talented, and it is just a really, really good show. And I know a lot of people think about The Lion King, the musical, like that show, and a lot of people do that, but I don't hear as many people doing the Finding Nemo one, and personally, I think I like the Finding Nemo one even better than the Lion King. I mean, it could be because I've done the Lion King one like a million times and not the Finding Nemo, but definitely if you haven't watched it, go watch it, because it's really cool. Now on to Magic Kingdom. So, the first one that I'm going to talk about is the Carousel of Progress. I love the Carousel of Progress. I do it every single time I go. The song always gets stuck in my head, but that's quite alright. I don't know what it is about that ride, but I love it. It's just a classic. It's something that I feel you do every time you go, and I just have been doing it every time that I go. And I know some people think, you know, it's not a thrill ride, why would I bother? But it's actually really cool, and if you've never done it, you definitely should. Up next is the People Mover. I personally like to close out my trip and start my trip with the People Mover because it is a fun way to start everything. And it's one of those rides that, although it's not air conditioning, it's a nice time to sit down and kind of just relax. And it's a great time to unwind, and you can just sit there and keep going, and I don't know, it's something that I think is very underrated. Next up is Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor. This is something that, once again, a lot of firsts here on this last trip. I hadn't done it until last year, and it's a lot of fun. And the thing I love most about this that I don't think people realize is it's not the same every time, because the audience can put in jokes, the voice actors are different each time, and overall, just the experience is never the same. You have different audiences, you have different people, it's truly an experience, and it is really funny. I wasn't sure what to expect going in, but it's something that I will definitely do every trip from here on out. Next on the list is Mickey's PhilharMagic. That is another one. Once again, do I need to say it? Air conditioning is your best friend in Florida, especially if you are going in the middle of summer. So air conditioning is a plus. And I think it's just a really cool experience. And I mean, obviously if you have kids, that's good too, but I think it's also nice to sit and watch people who've never seen it before and their reactions. But it, once again, is a classic that I think is very, you know, under-recognized. And my last one at Magic Kingdom is a food item, and that is churros. Now churros, in my opinion, get a little more recognition than the Cronuts do, but I still think everybody thinks Magic Kingdom, I'm getting a Dole Whip, which is fine. But in my opinion, I still want a churro, you know. Get a churro and stick it in the Dole Whip. There's a life hack for you, a Disney life hack. Get a churro and stick it in the Dole Whip. I haven't tried it, but you should try it and you should tell me how it is. Maybe in my program I'll try one. I don't know. But they are so good. I don't know what it is. I can get a churro anywhere, but it's better at Disney. I mean, everything's better at Disney, but something about it, it is just so good. So churros are definitely underrated, and they deserve to get boosted up. Now I'm going to talk about Disney Springs. Now I don't have too many for this, and I know Disney Springs has changed a lot, and when I went last, not all the stores were open, so I still have a lot to experience when I go. But one underrated thing is Earl of Sandwich. I actually haven't tried Earl of Sandwich in Disney World in Florida, so I guess technically this would be for California. I tried Earl of Sandwich in California, and oh my goodness, it is so good. And I feel like I don't hear anybody talk about it. even like Disney vloggers, I feel like I never hear them say anything about Earl of Sandwich. And to me, Earl of Sandwich is really good. And once again, if you have not been to Earl of Sandwich, try it. They just have tons of sandwiches and it's really, really good. And my only other thing is Goofy's Candy Company. Now, once again, it's just something I don't hear a lot of people talk about, but obviously who doesn't love candy? And I don't know, it's just, even if you don't buy anything, it's just fun to like go in and see all the baked goods and all the candies and just everything about it. I love Goofy's Candy Company, so that is on my list. Now I just have some miscellaneous things that didn't really fit in anywhere, so let's get to those. The first is Hoop-Dee-Doo Review. I hear a lot about Ohana, Mickey's Backyard Barbecue, stuff like that, but I feel like I don't hear as much about Hoop-Dee-Doo Review. I still hear a lot of people talk about it, but it is something that my family and I do every time we go. Like every time we go. It is so good and the entertainment is great and you cannot beat the food and it's just home style cooking and everybody's so talented and it is truly an amazing show. So I do highly recommend that if you guys have done Ohana before or have done Mickey's Backyard Barbecue, try something different and try this because you guys might like it even more. And my last two miscellaneous things are actually hotels. Underrated hotel number one for me is Port Orleans French Quarter. I feel like I hear more about Riverside than I do French Quarter, but Port Orleans in general. It is a moderate, but I feel like as far as the moderates go, I hear a lot more about other moderates than I do about this one. And I don't know why, because it is so well themed, or at least speaking for Port Orleans, it is so well themed. And for a moderate, like, I think it's really nice. My family and I have stayed there a few times and it's probably my favorite moderate. I really do love it and I think it is great. And then lastly is the Wilderness Lodge. So the Wilderness Lodge is a deluxe and it is the only deluxe I've ever stayed at. But I feel like a lot of people don't talk about it enough, and I do feel that out of the deluxes, it is a good deluxe that just doesn't get enough recognition. I feel like I hear more about like the Grand Floridian and like other deluxe resorts, but the time I stayed there, I personally loved it. It is a little outdoorsy, but I didn't mind that. I really liked it. Well, that is it for this week's video. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!